So welcome everyone to Livestream Stars. I'm Ross Brand. This is a place where we showcase talented broadcasters delivering high quality content across Livestream platforms. And Livestream Stars is brought to you by Livestream Universe. For everything live streaming, check it out, livestreamuniverse.com. And to learn more about this show and see upcoming videos and past episodes, visit livestreamstars.tv. Next week, we have Daniel Newman, a digital marketer, keynote speaker, and the host of Cloud Talk, which he hosts right here on Blab. So he'll be the guest next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Today's guest is Jodi Okun. Welcome, Jodi. Jodi's a financial aid professional. She hosts the Twitter chat College Cash. Jodi has a huge social media following, around 125,000 followers on Twitter. She also hosts a monthly Blab show with Aaron Kilby and Margie Annalise, which I'm excited to be on Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Jodi's the founder of College Financial Aid Advisors, a brand ambassador for Discover Student Loans, and a top 30 social media influencer in personal finance and wealth. Wow. That's quite a bio. I hope I got everything in there. And, of course, Jodi has a new book coming out, Secrets of a Financial Aid Pro. And so I think that's a great place to start. Tell us about the book, when it's coming out, and, what motivated you to write it.
So let's start with your last question, which was what motivated me to write it. I wanted to be on the Kelly and Michael show. And so I heard that you needed a book to do that. So I wrote a book. And the process was, I actually really enjoyed the process, to be honest. I knew my goals, which were, I didn't want to write a how-to book. I didn't want it to go out of date real fast. I have a lot of clients, customers, families who have stories that call all the time. So it's more like every chapter talks about a family, a specific part of the process, and answers questions of what to do next. So it's pre-launched right now. You can go to jodiokun.com and see all our little bonuses. And then the launch date is May 24th. So I'm quite excited.
Oh, awesome. That's just a little over a month away.
I know.
So the invites are coming in from Michael and Kelly and all the different shows now?
Not yet. I have to wait a little bit.
Once it's released and they've read it and all that, then,
I mean, she was talking about college this morning and her son getting in, but kidding. This is not a plug to Kelly.
Don't worry. I don't think she's a viewer yet. Maybe like within a few more shows she'll catch on, but I don't think she's a viewer yet.
Well, you never know. I mean, we can kind of like push it that way, but we think.
But her producers do watch and follow everything we do here on Play.
I mean, he could be watching. We don't know.
That's right.
So yeah, it's exciting. I'm, like I said, I love the process. I read Ape a lot. I read Guy's book a lot, 8 times, just to figure out, what to do. There's a lot in the process, and I highly recommend it for everyone. I think it's a good way to kind of build your brand.
I hear it's a pretty intense and involved process. It's not something that you do overnight, right? I mean, it's a huge undertaking. How did you find time to write a book?
So there are a couple of goals I had and certain hit points. Like I wanted certain things were really important to me. And so I ended up hiring a project manager, to be honest with you, and expressed what my hit points were. Aesthetically, I wanted my book to look a certain way. I didn't want it to be a how-to book. And so it was probably about, I was working 20 hours a day. So I have my client families who I help during the day. Layered on top of that is social media, and then layered on top of that is editing and writing. And there's a lot to learn when you write a book. You can do it all yourself, and you can have a team. It just depends on how you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. And so your project manager kept sort of everything moving and kind of helped you fulfill your vision, and then you supply the content. Is that how it?
So she was always pushing in a forward direction. And so, she was making sure we hit our timeline and everything. And then depending on whether I needed hands on that piece of, material, or whether we just needed to get the Amazon page up, or however that worked, it was important to me to have someone to help me push the project forward, because it's probably been a 4-year project. And I was not getting it done because I was so busy interviewing people to help with the project.
And so in the book, when people read it, what is the secret? What is one secret that's going to surprise them or most people don't know about the financial aid industry?
That they probably should have started earlier having that conversation with their kids, like in 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy process for
Right.
parents, for kids.
Well, it's not like you can wake up today and say, oh, okay, I need to pay for this, $60,000, $40,000, $30,000 school. It's expensive now. It's like one of the most expensive items we as parents buy for our students. So, you want to do that with an educated conversation with your students. And I think you probably know as an adult, and I know as an adult, that you have to pay rent and turn the lights on and do all kinds of stuff. And I think sometimes we probably don't talk to our kids enough about that. We protect them. And so now I'm like encouraging you to open the doors and start having that conversation to make them self-sufficient, to make them understand money.
And how do people explain to their kids why college costs so much and why the price of college has like tripled in 20 or 30 years while nothing else seems to be increasing at that rate?
Right. I don't think we can tell them how and why. I think I've talked to a lot of different reporters and media outlets and had a lot of that conversation that we don't agree with this. No one thinks this is right. But the fact of it is this is how it is. And until someone changes it, and we don't have to talk about who we're going to vote for or what we're going to do or how this is all going to, but it's not good, but it is the way it is. So knowing that it is the way it is and financial aid is the way it is, how are we going to just make that system work for right now? Because we have kids who need bachelor's degrees and masters in order to move on.
And is part of what you do with families, do you advise them on which colleges to apply to based on cost and things like that, and based on ease maybe of navigating the financial aid maze? Or
so I kind of come to the table. I definitely am not the admissions girl. I am the numbers girl. So I'm the girl who worked in the financial aid office, knows about the forms, knows how to fill out the forms and navigate the system. As far as finding the college, I think you should apply to 3 tiers of college. One that's like a state school, maybe one that's a private school cost-wise, and then public. And then there's other matters of fit, whether you want to live on the East Coast or the West Coast and so on and so forth. So,
right. Do you ever have parents question what's the value of a college education now? Like, is it worth them or their children going into debt for a degree that may or may not prepare them for the reality of today's marketplace?
All the time I have parents say, what's the value of college? I don't really see the value. And I can't really tell them that. I mean, I think that that's a family decision. I can just say exactly kind of what I said before, which is college costs this.
Right.
You've saved this. No one's judging. If you don't want to pay whatever you need to pay for that, that's okay. But, you need to let your student know so they're not applying to the most expensive school in the United States. And then later on, you're going to have to say, no, so sorry, honey.
Right. So parents should begin the conversation, as you said, with their kids in 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
And when should they start saving for college? How should they go about saving for college? I mean, probably before their child's born, right?
So I'm going to be a grandma. So I'm setting up a 529 for my grandchild, right? Now should be the time. So they get the Tonka truck or we don't know the sex. So, so whatever, with a little bit of 529 money attached to it.
Wow. So, I'm shocked you're a grandmother. You look far too young to be a grandmother.
Very much.
So if somebody's trying to get financial aid, what are the basics? Like if somebody's a parent and they're new to the process and they're watching this, what should they start to do? What are the basic things they need to start to consider? Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit. The basic things they need to consider as they begin the process.
So I really encourage families to go on every college website. There's a net price calculator, and they can look at the cost of college, maybe what their income is. They can put in little figures to figure out what the cost of college will be, what their assets are, and then find out if that college is even in their price point. They can also look on sites like Big Future, which is owned by College Board, get an idea of like fit, size of college, public, private. All of those go into the decision, which has to be made on May 1st. You know, where are they going to go after they get in?
Right, right.
And I was just going to say, have a good list, because this is the first time that someone else is going to say no to your student other than you. That, no, I'm sorry, we don't want you here.
Yeah, not an easy thing to hear when you've dreamed of going to a certain school or whatever, and you might not get in. That's certainly not easy for anybody. How did you get into the financial aid industry?
So what happened was I was walking with a friend of mine, and we decided what was going to be my next step in life. And I pretty much like to be president of everything. Hey, Kim.
Hi. I'm in a car picking up a pizza for my soon-to-be college freshman.
Are you driving?
No, I pulled over.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But I had a question for you guys, and then I have to go get my pizza, but I would love to do this. Do you do this all the time?
I do Jodi? This all the time. Oh, no.
Jodi, I follow you on all your sites.
Oh, thank you. I'm so humbled. Great. Thank you.
I teach college essay writing, but I just went through this process with my daughter. Look how horrible I look. God.
No, you look fine.
I just went through this process with my daughter, and I found, I found that the schools that I thought were going to give a lot of money didn't.
Right.
And the schools, you know, so we tried to be really open-minded about it. And it was really interesting. I mean, she only applied to schools that we knew were going to be affordable.
Right.
Because I did a lot of stuff beforehand, but it was really interesting. And most of the scholarships I found, and you're the expert on this, not me, she got merit scholarships, and the actual money for aid was a lot less than I expected from a lot of the schools.
Yeah.
And I hear that from a lot of people, and I'm in the industry, but I didn't pay attention to the money end too much until I had to do the paperwork and take care of my own daughter. And I'm a single mom, and it was, I mean, I'll get a Pell Grant, but beyond that, it's a lot of loans.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
It's just interesting. I mean, parents really have to pay attention to it. And I think we've got it worked out so that she'll go to school, and she may have enough money for her first year that we can use some of her 529 plan to pay for some of the services she needs for a coach for her dyslexia. So it's going to work out okay, but it was really challenging. And I don't, like, I'm in my car. I don't have a lot of information with me, but I would love to talk to you about it another time, because I know you. Yeah,
no, I think that'd be great. I do think that, you know, I spend a lot. I'm Discover's brand ambassador. I think we spend a lot of time getting the message out that I think the media doesn't do sometimes a great job of letting everyone what's really out there and what's really not out there. And that we really need to tell people what it's like, you know, that there's not these scholarships out there, that there's only maybe a Pell Grant that's $5,500. You know what I mean? And that, you know, that's the message I try to get out. And I think that was the basis of the book situation, is to try and say, this is what's really happening. We may not agree, but this is what it is right now.
Really interesting. I'm sure you go to these conferences. I was speaking at the college fair in Detroit. There was a woman from the College Board telling all these kids in a room about all this money that's unused and not available. And then I thought about Mark Cantorwood's, how he goes out and tells everyone, I didn't pay anything and you should apply for every $500 scholarship. I don't know what kid has time to do that. I mean, to be honest, I don't know that it's worth it. I don't know. I know that it all adds up, but it's just the advice they give. Sometimes I feel like it's just not real. And these kids are writing, you know, hundreds of essays to get $500 a piece, and it's absolutely insane. So I agree with you. There is money out there, but they have to be realistic. And all those dollars people talk about, that money's not all available. So that's what
I think that they're out there, but I do think that, like you said, I think you kind of hit it and passed it, and like maybe we need to focus on that more too. Is your student is a senior, not just yours, but these senior students have a lot going on. It's the end of the year, it's senior this, it's prom this, and they don't want to be applying for scholarships. And so they may be sitting out there, but the students really don't want to sit down and apply. I mean, let's be real. They get bored.
They're not qualified for all of them either.
They're not qualified for all of them. So let's be realistic, and
for the ones that they are qualified for, Tracy Cooper mentions it's always worth it because there's a lot of scholarship money that is left on the table because many people do think that, they're not going to get it.
Right. And so what Mark says, and he says it in his book, and he'll say it all the time, is, students need to apply to 50 and 60 scholarships, not just 1 and 2, not the $25,000 Coca-Cola scholarship. It's those $1,000 scholarships that they can just whip 10 out, in half an hour. And I do think that is sitting there. And I do think that it's left there because students are busy doing something else.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for calling in, Kim. Appreciate it.
All right, I'm gonna go get my pizza, but Jodi, I want to talk to you, so I'll send you.
You know how to find me. I'm around.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Kim. Thank you for calling in. So, with the essays, having not gone through this process, you can use the same essay for multiple scholarships. They don't all ask different questions, or are they all going to require different essays?
Well, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone out there and then the admission side, but if you're using essays that you used on the Common App for admissions, you could probably tweak them a little bit for these other scholarship essays. So yes, you're not reinventing the wheel. You can just definitely tweak things. So, I mean, some ask for what are 3 sentences that you feel about spring break? I mean, it's not that difficult to sit down and write that in 4.5 seconds, right?
Right. Resume Workshop, which is Tracy Cooper, says they require different criteria, but you must use a template starter. So the essay shouldn't be a stumbling block for someone who wants to apply for more scholarship, more aids, right?
Exactly. It shouldn't be a stumbling block. And there's even maybe Tracy. Is it Tracy? Maybe she can recommend, there's also no essay scholarships where you can just go those $1,000, and put in your name, and, that's another option to do it. So. Yeah.
And feel free, Tracy, to jump in if you want to join the conversation. Elaine says, we're currently accepting applications from graduate engineering students for a $10,000 scholarship. Would it be okay if I share the info? Sure.
Yeah,
you can enter it in the chat box, or you can jump in quickly and tell us about it. That's amazing. It's a nice scholarship.
Who's offering that? I have several engineering students who would love that.
Oh, wow. So do you work with graduate students as well as undergraduate?
Yeah, sometimes if I've worked with the family or the student in their undergrad and then they move to their grad program, I encourage them to take and own their own process so that they're, moving forward on their own without their parents sort of sheltering them in that situation.
Right.
Hi, Tracy.
Right. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you as well.
So it sounds like in addition to doing resumes, Tracy, you have some experience with the application process for scholarships and financial aid.
Absolutely. I worked 5 years at a 2-year college where I worked with scholarships and students and resumes for the scholarships and things like that. And then I recently worked at a 4-year university, so I have a lot of experience. There's a lot of money left on the table, and really the scholarships are within. It is networking. It is total networking as well. It's who you know and who you get to befriend that has knowledge of scholarships that is key as well.
Really? I didn't know that. Do tell.
Absolutely. Working with the scholarships, because I also taught 2 classes at the 2-year college that I worked at, how to get from your major to your career and success in the workforce. So therefore, as a part of those classes, I worked with some of the scholarships. And if a student really indicated the need to me, I had a connection that would take care of that student when it came down. Now, the student still had to follow the criteria.
Uh-huh.
However,
Wow. I feel like you're doing like a huge double wink to us right now,
right.
you
know? However.
Exactly. So it depends on who you know and the need, if you indicate the need as well. So yeah, there's ways around it, especially once the student gets to the colleges. But the biggest thing is that students don't apply. They do not apply because they think the same thing that the other lady was thinking, that they'll never get it. Someone else is going to get it. And if everybody's thinking someone else is going to get it, then
nobody ends up with it. Right.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So thank you, Casey. Appreciate
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you get into the financial aid industry?
Right. Great. Thank you for bringing us back to the beginning. So I took a class at UCLA on financial aid, and the teacher of my class was the director at Occidental College. And I called her up and said, hey, I'm going to be in the area. I live in Seal Beach. She lives in Pasadena. I was not in the area.
Right.
I drove to Pasadena and had coffee with her and say, hey, I have this great idea. I'd love to learn about financial aid. I really want to help students and families with the financial aid process. I want to open my own company. Is there any way you would hire me and teach me everything you knew? And she said yes.
Wow, that is great.
Isn't that great? And so I worked there for 5 years on and off. While I did that, I opened my own small business where I helped families. I started off with 5 families. I now have 250 families a year about. And then I also worked at Pitzer College. So I helped them at Pitzer College. And then on top of that, I layered social media. So it was really important to me to get the word out in social media. So I read Social Media for Dummies. And
you got to start somewhere, right?
Right. And then I just sort of built my company sort of as I went, but always staying connected with the college piece.
So how did social media change things for you as you were building your company?
Yeah. So for the first 3 years, I just used, at the time I used Constant Contact. And I had a list of local community members, and I used a Flash. I had a friend of mine build a Flash website. I think it was Flash at the time, right?
Right.
Okay. And then I picked a logo, and obviously for all of those entrepreneurs out there who, when naming your company, you should not have 4 long words in your company, College Financial Aid Advisors. But I thought I needed to hit all the words. And then about 4 years after that, I created College Cash, which was Thursday nights, used to be at the same time as Media Chat. But then I changed it to be before Dad Chat. So then it was me, Dad Chat, and then Aaron. And it totally changed. And then once I got rid of Flash and put a WordPress site on, I used to go to Blog Chat all the time. And everyone in Blog Chat told me, Jodi, you really need a WordPress site. And, that really kind of doubled and tripled my business, I have to say, really getting the word out and creating a lot of content. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Elaine.
How are you? Hey.
I'm well.
Good. Great to see you.
Welcome.
Thanks so much for, when I'm on Blab, I hardly ever talk about my job. But in this case, I had to, because we are offering the scholarship. And I know that you have so many connections, Jodi. And Jodi, guess what? I follow you with my Twitter account, but I also follow you with my work Twitter account.
Which so sweet.
You never know that it's me.
Thank you. I'm so humbled.
And so the thing is, we have ASTM International is a standards development organization. And so we have a lot of standards that are related to the fields of engineering. And so, but we have 146 committees. So everything's not engineering, but we kind of just, to try to sum it up as quickly as you can, especially when you're on Twitter. We just say it's a graduate scholarship for engineering students, but it doesn't have to be engineering. I mean, we just started a committee on human resources, which is, to have standards on that is going to be huge.
Wish I knew that before I went for my master's.
We've got additive manufacturing, the 3D printing and all. But most people, when they think of ASTM, they think of the iron and steel and the construction standards. And, we do also have mechanical engineering and all of that. The scholarship deadline is on the 30th of April.
Oh, wow. It's quick.
And yes. And, so really, and I actually posted the little blurb that's on the site. And really, it's just when you go to that page, that link that I gave you guys, it's just a Word document there for the student to fill out the application.
Okay.
And it's not an extensive process, but most kids that are in engineering universities are familiar with ASTM standards. We have a lot of academic outreach. We have a lot of members that are also faculty and all of that. And so this program's been going on for a few years now. And so I could not resist.
So for people who aren't engineering, and you mentioned human resources and other fields can apply, right? What do you mean by standards? I think a lot of people not be familiar with that term in this context.
Your standardization process is just the process of the standards that we have are consensus. So you have users, producers, and general interests, which most of those are the academics. We have government, and we're international. So we have standards and we have people using and implementing the standards all over the world. And so it's just, let's say, for example, I'll give you an example of a standard. How hard this table has to be in order to maintain a certain weight of the material that's on the sidewalk so you don't slip and fall and hurt yourself. The air quality, the level of different toxins or whatever that could be in the environment. We have test methods and standards that apply to all that stuff. So I'll give you a common use that anybody would probably be able to see. If you go to Home Depot, on the side of the plastic pipe, you'll see ASTM D, whatever that standard. We have 12 standards, so I can't remember them. On your Barbie dolls, you turn it on the back of it, you'll see ASTM F963. We also, a lot of consumer products, a lot of baby products with the high chairs, the crib, all that stuff, like when something will fall over or anything like that. Those things, like when IKEA had to issue some kind of a recall because kids were pulling over their dressers and TVs and things falling on them, that was because they had to.
So it's certain criteria that people have to hit, right, in order.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Tracy says STEM is now adding the arts as well, so scholarships for students in the arts. And then she mentions there's even scholarships for people who are left-handed.
Even scholarships for people who, like Duct Tape does the prom scholarship. So how do you make a prom dress out of duct tape? So that's another really good scholarship. But I love the new engineering conversation. And I, like I said earlier, I don't do admissions, but I've been to a couple schools and they're learning about their engineering program. And I think it's a sort of interesting major now where encouraging students that if they have the ability to major in engineering, that it's, if not better, it almost surpasses being a business major because every company in some way needs an engineer. And that you can minor in business. Is that true or not true? I mean, would you say that, it's becoming the higher paid job, the more structured, affluent position or major to be in, right?
Yeah. And, for years, I've been with the company for 33 years. So and I've been doing this academic outreach piece for about the last 10 years. But there's always, I also belong to this organization called the American Society for Engineering Education, ASEE. They do this study, like, what are the top paid engineering jobs? Every year they put out this data.
Yeah. Engineering's number one.
It was petroleum engineers for the longest, but you guys know the prices of of the oil is coming down. So I think chemical engineering is starting to overtake that. It probably take a couple years before the tables kind of flip and maybe something else comes to the top. But I also do have a question, Jodi, because I find that it's a big challenge. This is more like a social media question. I have a big challenge with reaching out to these engineering students, especially on Twitter, because I find that most of them, their tweets, are private, their accounts are private, you know, or and if they are the few that are on Twitter, they're like, okay, you can follow them, you can like, you can retweet them. They don't want to follow you back. It's kind of like, all right, I'm on social media now. I'm not thinking about school.
Right. Well, feel free to post it in College Cash or on my fan page, whatever works for you. I'm open to any kind of connectivity with students and stuff like that. So definitely get it out there or let me know and I'll throw it out there too. So I'm pretty open in that sense. I definitely want to pay it forward. So let me know any way I can help you. I'd be happy to.
Thank you so much, because we also offer grants for students when on their senior design project. So we're trying to make sure that students don't get out in the real world. You've got your engineering degree, right? And then you go for a job. Then you found like, oh, I need to know about standards. I didn't know that. My professor didn't tell me that. So and even in the time that we've had this program, we're starting to see that turn in some schools. Yeah. Not all.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Elaine. Thanks for sharing your experience.
Eileen.
Thanks, Eileen.
Eileen.
I don't know, something else, but it's Eileen. And it was great to meet you. And Ross, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much. Good to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, Eileen. Bye, Eileen. Interesting that Kim Lifton suggests Snapchat. Although I don't know how you would get those students' codes if they're so private, but that could be one way, I guess, to message students directly. Alfredo suggests go to the schools, colleges, and visit the department chairs. Tracy says if you can, you should attend their events and reach out to the administrators in the programs of interest. So there's a lot of different ways to reach the students who you'd want to apply.
I think in a couple of weeks I'm having the USC admissions director on College Cash. So if Eileen can, connect with me before then, maybe we can get some eyeballs on that. He can be helpful in that sense too. So that would be good.
Right. And Kim Lifton says you got to reach mom and dad. So Facebook's now the place for reaching mom and dad, right? She says she has lists and can help. So let's talk about now. You're on social media, right? And how long have you been on Twitter? How long have you been on?
College Cash is 4 years old, and so it's not that old. I think we pivoted in College Cash when I realized that I didn't have to hang out with just my industry professionals. And I realized that everyone, whether they're in social media, is maybe a mom or a dad or an aunt or an uncle or a friend or a brother or knows someone going to college. So the minute I did that and invited guests that weren't just talking about college and financial aid, which can get kind of dry and boring a lot, and we were talking about other things like students and social media or how to organize or whatever we're talking about, I opened the topic up a lot more. That's when social media really kind of flooded and came in to help grow my company. And
did you have a separate account for your company, or you do?
I do have a separate account. College Cash Chat I do, but I don't grow it. I don't use it. I retweet a lot, but I really just use my name and use me.
So in four years, essentially, you went from 0 to 125,000 followers. Well, that is amazing. I don't know whether you want to share that or not, but that is amazing. I mean, in our world, you're a celebrity, right? But if you're not, on TV, on network TV, or in the movies or whatever, how do you get to that point in such a period of time?
I definitely have a method. My method is, first of all, I'm a seasonal company. So during the time that we're doing financial aid, I spend most of my time there. So you'll see me on social media, but it won't be as chatty as during my off season. And then every week or every day during my off season, I follow 1,000 people a day. So I sit and literally follow. I follow everyone back on my phone during the day that's followed me and have some sort of conversation with everyone. So I do make a point of it. I'm probably on at least 5 times a day live. So I'm definitely on at 5 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, or 5 o'clock my time. And I'm off probably at 10 o'clock my time. But everyone has had some contact with me live on my phone most of the time, or on Hootsuite or native Twitter. But I do follow 1,000 people a day during summer.
And how fast, what do you see a day in terms of your growth of followers doing that?
Usually, if I'm doing it for a straight week, like 1,000 a day for a straight week, it usually can jump between, about 5,000-ish, 10,000, it's really a push. Unless I'm listing and following. So if I'm listing and following, that's the best method I have found. So following and then listing everyone under a separate list on my Twitter lists. That's the most successful rate where you're going to see people back at you, talking and having a conversation with you.
So you're not only getting followers, you're getting people who are real and willing to engage with you. Like, you're not just building 125,000 anybody's. So you're being selective in terms of who you follow and how you engage with them.
To be honest with you, I was more selective in the beginning than I am now. Now, everyone's like, don't follow an egghead, don't follow, a brand. I actually do that more now than in the beginning. In the beginning, I was more selective. I'm not as selective now. Now I'm following you. If you have a conversation with me, great. At least I know I've done my homework, and I'm not judging you for who your avatar is. I'm just going for it. Make sense?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I had a period where I had some free time, right? And I would spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I did a lot of tweeting and retweeting. And, I still to this day try and message most of the people that follow me back, but I don't have the time to do it with everybody. But if somebody follows me, I'll send them a message and follow them back, unless I think they're a bot or they're publishing something that's, not appropriate for families or whatever, right? But otherwise, I'll follow most everybody back. But I don't do nowadays, I don't do a lot of following myself, right? I just engage with people who engage. So if somebody follows me, I'll follow them back. If they tweet at me or they retweet me or something, then I'll comment with them. So it's a much slower process unless you spend it's a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I mean, a moment in a peek behind Jodi's life would be I would sit down with my phone, I look at my notifications. If it says 14 people on my phone followed me, I go to those 14 people, I see if I'm following them, I look to see if there's anyone that maybe I want to reach out or connect with, or who, if I know them from someplace else or my state, and just grab something from their bio to say something to them. So they're probably, when I go to bed at night, I have followed everyone who's followed me that day, aside from the initial following when I say, okay, now I'm going to follow 1,000 people in this hour right now. And those months usually happen for me in the summertime.
Wow. So, do you find that how do you do the list building? How do you?
So I started with 4 lists because I break myself up into 4 parts. So I'm a college, financial aid, small business, entrepreneur, and then recently I've been creating a little bit more lists, as far as my author and speaking, and that's it. So but I had 4 categories right in the beginning, and that was it. You either fell into 4 categories or not.
So when you follow somebody, then you add them to one of the categories if they fit into those categories?
No,
or you
I actually
add them
follow
first?
them first, and then I list later. So listing is a whole different, during the summer, I'll go back and start listing people. I'll look to see what's trending in my company or what's really apparent in my company. Let's say let's just use the book, for example. Like right now, it's all about the book. So then I would go and create lists right now of my 125,000 and start creating lists around the things that are in my company rising to the top. Make sense?
No, yeah, definitely. And I imagine with as many followers as you have, because I don't think I can do it, and I don't have, you know, a tenth of the followers that you have. You must not use the feed anymore, right? I mean, when you want to just see what people are tweeting about, you must either search a hashtag or look at a list or something like that, right? To curate.
So I have different methods, to be honest with you. I depending on the day and what's happening in the news, I will go for those hashtags. So if it's a sporting event, or maybe, you know, obviously we're talking about politics right now. And because politics is really, and not to use, I know we're technically not supposed to talk about it, but politics, the people who are on the politics hashtags are reporters. And if you want to connect with reporters so that you are spoken about in media, then at some point you have to like be in the stream. So I am in my home stream then. I sometimes find myself only being in certain streams all the time. And so I want to break the cycle. So I will go to my home stream more often when I've been in my parent bloggers or my, you know, let's say social media marketing world, or, you know, wherever I'm hanging out the most with my friends. I will say, okay, Jodi, you need to spend some time in the home stream a little bit and like talk to your other friends. So I do that consciously.
Right. Wow. So how much time would you say you spend a day on managing Twitter?
I mean, it's just sort of like breathing oxygen for me. I mean, it's, you know, I go there in between clients. I go there first, probably before Facebook. So for me, it's Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. And that doesn't mean it's right for everyone. It's just those are my comfort zones. That's kind of where I go. Yeah.
Right. And do you use other platforms as well as those four? I know you host a show on Blab, so you do that monthly.
I was using Periscope for a while. I think my audience is really there. Are there other platforms? I'm not thinking. I use Pinterest, so every article that I write, I Google Plus it, I pin it. So I still do that. So I use an editorial calendar for everything that I do in my company. So everything is very systematic.
Do you use the collections feature?
I just started using them. So I have 4 collections, and I'm going to stick with 4 for right now. So I have social media, small business, financial aid, and another one called College Talk. So that anything that has nothing to do with financial aid. It's all the other like admissions, dorm decorating, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped using Google Plus for quite a while, and then I said again, you know, maybe I should go back, because Google Plus, like Pinterest, Tumblr, those sites index very well in search. So there's something to be said for using at least one or more of them. I have, you know, I often go a long time without using Pinterest, and then I'll get into it, right? It's great. It's addicting, and then you stop using it again for a while. But with Google Plus, I think the collections thing is really cool way to organize. For nothing else, like I know it probably has SEO value, but for nothing else, it's not a bad way to organize like the content that you've been sharing all over the place, just for your own use. And so I've started sharing stuff and then putting it into the collections, and I'm not really sure, like, do I put it in the collection first? Do I share it first? Do I move it?
I know that too. Yeah, I thought you were just like share it first and then move it to the collection second, but I could be wrong, and someone might come on and tell us we're wrong. Okay.
And then somebody will, like, fortunately, most of my people aren't really reading Google Plus, so I guess it probably doesn't matter. But, you know, like you share it and then they get another notification. You shared it into yourself. Right. So, but it's actually a very cool feature for a platform that, you know, was kind of on the back burner for a lot of people.
I still do it. I write, you know, I write for about.com, and I write a business post and a financial aid post once a week. So, you know, I like to get my content out there, and that's another way.
Yeah, and there are communities that are active there and ask questions and groups and stuff like that. I'm not trying to do an endorsement for using that. You know, that didn't be somebody's first. And so you pin your articles to Pinterest. You create like a special graphic for each article, or you just use something that goes within the blog post.
I'm a many tools girl. So I do use social warfare in my WordPress. So that is my plugin that I use. So that I love the Pinterest and the social media and then the Twitter option. And then also we use Canva and relay that. And so I make a correct size picture for every single platform, including LinkedIn and so on and so forth. So yeah, everything, it takes a while to get a post out.
Right. The cool thing about Relay, which is now what I use for like all my show graphics and all that stuff, is that you can resize stuff and it just kind of, you still have to move things around a little bit, but it's got all the sizes right in there. So once you put in certain things, you're limited in your options, which in some ways makes it easier. For a show
and like for College Cash too, like Thursday morning, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, and so I just like move things around and there you have it. Like they're saved. I have the right background. And so you're right. I love Relay that for me when I need to be in the moment, and then I use different apps like Word Swag and Typorama to make, my Instagrams, or if I take pictures on the fly and stuff like that.
Right. Now, do you do any like social media consulting, or do you do speaking on social media? Because you clearly have like a huge skill set in this area, and I'm just curious.
So I just launched my website, jodiokun.com. So that was, probably the next phase of, how does someone start a company? How do they implement social media? It just so happens that my company was about financial aid. But yeah, I think that's the next stepping stone to this, brand picture of how I made a very boring, dry, hard topic extremely relevant and visual, and how anyone can do that,
Mm-hmm. So the next step would be maybe to work with entrepreneurs who are looking to do that around their industry.
Yeah, and how to make their brand come alive, and kind of the little tricks that I've done that have worked for me, and passing those on.
So now live streaming comes along. Now it's been around a while. I know Google Plus and all these other things, but the live streaming era kind of began with Meerkat last year and Periscope and Blab. And so we're looking about a year old to where you could just grab your cell phone and start live streaming. Did you jump on that right away? Were you an early adopter?
The fun part of it is my associate director, Alex, who's like hiding in the background here and will not pop up. But we were at South by EDU, and we were tweeting, and a friend of mine, Britt, says, hey, hop on Meerkat, and I want to see what, Khan Academy is saying, because he was up there speaking. So right then and there, when everyone hopped on Meerkat, we were there too. And then from that point on, I just have been trying to find my audience on every, live streaming platform, shall we say, that I can, and finding how it best fits for my brand and me. I don't think that my customer client is necessarily on it, but I think it's really good for people to finally see who Jodi Okun is, and how she acts, and how she has a nervous laugh, and how she talks with her hands. And so I think that is a really good inside scoop as to how I'm using live streaming.
Right. And also everybody knows somebody who has a child or a friend or a cousin who's going. So, if somebody says, do you know anybody who can help with financial aid? You're like front of mind, right? Because you're on these platforms, and the connection you make are stronger than you make with just text. But the audience is much smaller than you're going to get on a tweet or something else, but the engagement is probably stronger, right?
I'm a fan of Snap. I'm not a fan of the storytelling in Snap, but I'm a fan of showing everyone like a day in the life of what happens in our office, or what is Jodi drinking for breakfast, or that kind of thing. And kind of I'm lucky I live by the beach, so it gives everyone this kind of inside scoop of a boring topic.
Right. And so you said you're not doing much on Periscope.
Yeah, it was funny.
Days,
like
right?
I downloaded it this weekend. I was a keynote speaker at a conference, and I downloaded it specifically to see what was happening at social media marketing world. Did you do the same thing? Like I kind of let it, because it takes up a lot of battery space. So I bring it back all the time and let it go a lot sometimes. And
well, I keep it on my phone, but I have it like the notifications and all that turned off, because otherwise it would just be a constant.
I know. I'm a big notifications girl. It's probably not a good thing, but I like to see who of my people are talking, and I want to respond in a timely manner. So Periscope is good. I'm loving Blab a little bit more and Snap a little bit more. Mm-hmm. That's just my comfort zone. That's all. Not for any particular reason.
Right. Do you think Snapchat is going to eventually be like the next big platform alongside Facebook, or do you think it's a lot of hype now, or do you think it's in between, or do you think it'll be more just like messaging, or where do you think Snapchat is going to fit into the whole?
I think to answer that question, I probably have 4 different answers, because I'm going to come from it from 4 different sides. I'm probably going to come from it from, I'm a mom of a 25-year-old or 26-year-old who probably hangs out with the owner of who invented Snapchat. So I'm probably going to be like, however you want to use it, you want to use it. Do I think that?
Okay, so I got to be nice about Snapchat.
Do I think that I'm going to increase my clients and consumers in my company off of Snapchat? Probably not. Do I think it's, like I said, it's a good way to be 360 degrees in my brand? 100% yes. Do I think it's good as a small business owner, entrepreneur, to try everything? I'm a trier. I love to try everything. So I make no call on it and just go for it. Do it feels the most comfortable for me. I'm not a big, this is my uncomfortable zone, to be honest with you, like chatting and talking, where I'm better the other way. So it's really good to be in my outside my box comfort zone.
Right. And you consider Snapchat video kind of like live streaming then, right? Because you record quickly, you put it up. There's not a lot of like editing
like Jodi
that
just
goes
do it,
in,
say it,
or
post
really
it,
any. Right. Here's my take on it, and I'm just curious what your reaction is. For me, I think it's great for messaging people, like for people you might not know that well, seem to be like more receptive to being messaged on Snapchat than texting them or sending them LinkedIn in mail or whatever, more like Facebook Messenger you would use. Except that I think people are more open to Snapchat because they're trying to, get more followers and get more engagement there. And so I see a value in it, and I enjoy watching some snaps, but I also feel like I'm spending, like when I spend my time there, I'd rather be doing almost anything else sometimes. I don't know. Like I sometimes wonder, like, and the other thing is, like, when I'm out enjoying myself or whatever, I don't necessarily want to stop and like keep snapping as like each thing. I want to kind of live in the moment. And so I see people who are like snapping constantly, and it's like, I'm glad they're sharing. Like, I'm glad I can watch events through their eyes. But if I was at the event, I'd be too wrapped up in like what I was doing. Maybe I'd stop and take one snap, but I can't see like constantly doing that. And I mean, I sound like such like one of these people who's skeptical about tech and all. Of course, I'm not. I'm totally into all these platforms, and I like Snapchat. And I'm trying to keep an open mind to it, but I just wonder how we're going to eventually end up using it, and are people going to get tired of using it, where they're going to go, you know what, let's just have a good time and not worry about Snapchat. But probably they're doing the same thing with Instagram and everything else anyway. So it's almost like an extension.
I was at a concert with friends of mine, my kids, a whole bunch of people, and we were at Maroon 5. And Adam Levine actually stopped in the middle of singing, and he said, "Put down your phone." Like, everyone stop looking at your phone. Everyone stop looking through the lens. Everyone stop looking at your phone. I'm going to not start singing until everyone's phone is down. And then I'm going to continue singing. And then everyone put down their phone but this one guy. So he goes over to the one guy and he's like, "Hey, dude, like, put down your phone. Like, enjoy the concert. I'm going to sing." And so like the whole room went black. Like there was no more phones, and it was amazing, like to just like be in the moment, not worry about recording it and dancing in it and stuff like that. So, you know, I think looking at what I eat for breakfast is fine every other day. But, you know, whatever works for you, you know, whatever, you know, is kind of working for your brand.
We have a question here. What about Slack? Do you use it? And what are some best practices?
I don't. What's Slack?
You use Slack?
I feel so.
It's a group. It's like a group messaging. I'm in part of a Slack group, but I'm not that active in using Slack. I kind of see what the messages are, and then I go like to Twitter and share things that I'm supposed to share. So I'm kind of one way on it. I use it for notifications. Tracy says I'm Slack.
I guess I'm
Slack.
A Slacker too.
Yeah. Eileen's up on a lot of things. Eileen, do you use Slack? So anyway, that's Slack. So before we wrap up, what do you want people to know about the book coming out, and you know what they can take away from the book?
So the book is not a how-to book. It's an evergreen book about the process, about the money conversation before high school, after college, during college, and like I said, the launch date is May 24th. I'm really excited. It's my first book. So find me on Amazon. It's really cool. When you put in Amazon, you put your name and there you are. It's crazy. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jodi. This was fun. I love learning about all the different things that you do on social media and of course your business. So I look forward to continuing the conversation Wednesday night with you and Aaron and Margie on your show at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday night. And next week here on this show, we have Daniel Newman, outstanding digital marketer, keynote speaker, and he also hosts Cloud Talk right here. So we'll see everyone back next week, Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks a lot.